Good afternoon, guys, wherever in the world you're watching me from. Welcome back to my channel. How are you doing? Today's video is going to be a quick one. I'm Winnie, if you haven't met me before, and on this platform I share my experiences on a wide range of issues. Now today's video is going to be a quick one in which I'm going to be addressing a question. Someone's asked how they can show the clinical hours for an accelerated nursing program. Now, if you have applied for any accelerated nursing program, whatever part of the world, you would have been asked probably to show evidence of clinical hours. And that's where it becomes difficult, because you are thinking, what can surface as clinical hours? How do I calculate these clinical hours? And then how do I evidence these clinical hours? So these three things I will address in this video. But if you haven't subscribed yet, please click on the subscribe button, like, share, and comment. And I always respond to my comments. What suffices as clinical hours? Now, universities usually will stipulate what is acceptable as evidence for clinical hours, but I'm just going to say in a general terms here. Usually that will be if you've worked in a clinical setting or healthcare setting, if you've volunteered in a clinical or healthcare settings, if you've worked or volunteered in charity, that also could suffice as clinical hours. Any setting that involved promoting the health and well-being of individuals, that helps individuals, where you've supported individuals in their day-to-day activities. So this would suffice. So it's not only if you've worked in a hospital, because that's the first thing that comes to mind, and you're thinking, I haven't worked in a hospital before. No, it doesn't necessarily have to be a hospital setting. It could actually be if you've worked in community setting, if you worked in a care home, if you volunteered in hospital, if you volunteered with charity before, you've maybe antenatal clinic, blah blah blah, things like that, they could suffice. Or if you've had a clinical placement, maybe from your first degree. But bear in mind that most universities would usually want this experience to be within the last 5 years. So let's say you've done a course that required a clinical placement in the last 5 years. Those clinical placements could also count or contribute towards the clinical hours. But make sure that you check with the universities, because they will stipulate in specific terms what is acceptable for them. Okay, now let's move to the part 2 question, which is, how do I show this? How do I calculate this clinical hours? Now, these clinical hours, like I've mentioned earlier, not necessarily has to be in a clinical setting like a hospital setting. It could also be in a social care setting. All right, so I'm going to be giving you a simple formula which I'll be putting on the screen. So if you look at your screen now, you should be seeing that formula, and it is number of hours worked multiplied by number of weeks worked. So let's say, for example, you volunteered in an antenatal clinic for 4 hours during the space of 10 weeks. So the total number of clinical hours would be 4 hours multiplied by 10 weeks, and that gives you 40 hours. So I'll reiterate again: number of hours worked times number of weeks worked. So 4 times 10, that gives you 40 hours. Now, let's say you have a variety of experiences in different settings. Let's say you volunteered with the antenatal clinic on one hand. Let's say you also worked in the hospital as a healthcare assistant or a nursing assistant. And let's say you did that, maybe it was full-time hours. Maybe you did that for, let's say, 30 hours per week, and you did that for, say, 10 weeks. That will give you 30 times 10 weeks, and that makes it up to 300 hours. Now, for you to now get the total number of clinical hours you have overall, just do a summation, and that will be, remember, you had 40 hours from working or volunteering in the antenatal clinic. Add it to the experience you had working as a nursing assistant, which we summed up as 300 hours. Now, when you do a summation of both experiences, that gives you 300 hours plus 40 hours, and that makes it up to 340 hours. So that is how you calculate your clinical hours. Now, for you to be able to calculate this, it means you've been keeping track. You have a track record of your rota, you have a track record of just for you to track how many hours you've worked. So maybe your employment letter, volunteering letter, blah blah blah, emails with your manager or supervisor, timesheets, just anything that evidences this. You need to have a track record, because remember, or I wouldn't say remember because I haven't said it, I think this is a better time to state it. Whatever claims you're making regarding your clinical hours, or whatever claims whatsoever with regards to any application, has to be factual, it has to be real. So don't go about exaggerating things or even lying about things. Make sure you are honest. Be honest. State what it is exactly that you have done. And that's why you need to have a track of how many hours you've worked, the places you've worked, the places you've volunteered in, because this would help you a lot in the long run. So that is how you calculate your clinical hours. Now let's go to the last question. How do I evidence this? Now, a quick and easy, simple way of evidencing this will be by your timesheet, your rota, email communications with your supervisor or manager where they've stated how many hours you're contracted to work and how long you've worked. It could be a simple reference from your employer or from the charity you volunteered in to state in real terms how many hours you've worked when you started the job with them, how long you've been with them, how many hours you've put in. And a reference also from a supervisor you worked with, a manager, someone who can attest to the fact that this information or this claim you've made is real and factual. So that is how you evidence it, okay? Now, one quick thing that I would like to mention is another way of evidencing this is reflection. Now, if you don't know what a reflection is where you sit down and you think through something that has happened to learn from it. So one simple template that we use to do a reflection in the UK is the STAR method, STAR, STAR method. S stands from situation, T stands for task. What was my role in this? A stands for action. What did I do? And R stands for result or reflection. So for every experience that you've noted down, that you've penned down, make sure you have a reflection to support this. For example, I volunteered in a community clinic, an antenatal clinic for 40 hours within 10 weeks. And this experience, my role was, remember we are using the STAR method, my role was to support pregnant women with blah 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 blah. Action, I did this, I did health talks, I blah 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 blah, depending on what you've done. Result, as a result, so thing happened, blah 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 happened. I improved the health and well-being of pregnant women, I did this, I did that. And then you reflect on it, okay? You reflect on it. Now, what is your reflection? Going forward, I have learned the importance of communication, or this experience has helped me improve on my communication skill. So going forward, this and this and this I will do, or this is going to help me in my nursing journey, this is going to help me in nursing school, this skill will be important in nursing school because I am sure I will come across blah 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 blah. Just something as simple as that, a reflection. So I would encourage you, if you're planning to study nursing in the future, maybe you're working as a nursing assistant, or you're gaining like the required experience you need, make sure that for every day you have a journal where you reflect upon what's happened that day. Has anything happened that day? What did you learn that day? Going forward, what are the things that you're going to do? Okay, because this would help you in the long run. And that brings us to the end of this video. I hope I was able to address this question. I've tried as much as I can to make this video the quickest and the shortest, okay? And I hope you watch to the end. If you still have any questions for me, please leave them in the comment section. And if you haven't subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for. Click on the subscribe button, like, share, and comment on this video. And until we meet again, guys, keep winning and enjoying life, and bye.